I'd next like to welcome up Dr. Stuart Matan Litcwick from the Fighting Blindness Canada.
All right, so I had my plan of how I was going to start my talk. I'm throwing that out because I got to say something first, which is to say, number one, I'm incredibly privileged to be here and talking as part of the eMental Health International Congress. But more than that, I'm so deeply moved to be a part of this panel, this group, this session. I found ways of identifying with each person who's come up here, and I'm just privileged, and I just have so much respect. And nothing amazement for every person who came up here, because I'd be scared out of my wits in one of the cases that you explained, which I think you'll get a sense for as I go through my talk. You have my deepest respect. Anyway, yeah, so title of my talk is Access Granted, the role that the iPhone and Apple accessibility have played in advancing equity and inclusion in a vision-dependent world. So I'm a mental health researcher, I'm a high school biology teacher, I'm a blindness advocate, a person with lived experience of ADHD, and I'm a person who is in the process of going blind. Yeah, so I think it's really important to give you sort of a sense of my journey that's taken me here. So in year 2000, I actually started graduate studies at the University of Toronto, and I was studying the eye cancer retinoblastoma with Brenda Galley at Princess Margaret Hospital. And 2 years into this, I was really considering being an optometrist. So I went to have an informational interview with an optometrist, and so she showed me all the equipment and then sat me in the chair to do a practice consultation and immediately diagnosed me with retinitis pigmentosa, a blindness disease, and confiscated my license. And that was the beginning. But luckily enough, because of my supervisor, I was actually connected to the #1 expert across Canada in retinitis pigmentosa, who is Elise Ayon at Sick Kids. And she connected me with Fighting Blindness Canada, which began a 20-year relationship that I've had with them. I didn't know any blind researchers, so I thought I'd have to switch my career. So I actually went back to school to become a teacher to hopefully inspire a generation to do the science that I wouldn't be able to do. And so that's what I did. But ultimately, eventually I said, you know what, no, I want to actually take a shot at this. So I decided I'm going to go back and actually do research. And so I went back with the idea that I was going to find the cure to my own disease, and that got some attention. So I got to actually be the 2014 keynote speaker for the UHN annual general meeting, which was a really cool experience. I started in vision research, ultimately changed to brain cancer research at Sick Kids, which was a great experience. And 2016, my daughter was born, which was the best day of my life, and still will always be. And that's the first picture that was ever taken of her that's on the slide. And finished my PhD in the COVID pandemic, ultimately went to Center of Addiction and Mental Health to do postdoctoral research in first depression in the elderly, and then basically genetics of beating smoking, overcoming smoking. But really what I want to talk about is how, when I made that return to research, I had to figure out how I was going to do it. And so the questions that really came up for me were like, how would I be able to remain a connected, independent, and healthy human as I was in a world that was very vision dependent and was in the process of going blind? And so there are lots of solutions that work for different people. But the one that had worked for me that I found quite quickly was to be actually working with the Apple systems, specifically software-wise, Apple accessibility and some third-party apps, and then the iPhone. And I just want to talk about my experience with it, and it was life-changing, honestly. So, to address the hypothesis that I was saying, how has Apple accessibility and the iPhone really advanced equity and inclusion in a vision-dependent world? Well, it's granted access. What do I mean by this? Well, so here's the thing. With my vision impairment, anything I'm doing in terms of consuming digital data, any digital access, it's got to be in high contrast. That's websites, that's if I'm doing coding, if I'm doing any kind of email, anything else, it has to be high contrast, and unfortunately, to a great extent, not a lot of it is. So on the left-hand, right-hand side here, we have screenshots of my actual iPhone, and on the left-hand side, this is what I see if there's no accommodations applied. So you might see some text there in the email. If I were to look at that, I see a white box. I see nothing. But if I just turn on classic invert, which basically makes everything that's black white and white black, I can read an email in the same way that anybody else could. The same goes for a website, the same goes for a code file, the same goes for anything else. And so this was life-changing, a simple solution that was literally allowing for me to be a scientist and to be in this world and in a very equitable way. And this is just one feature of a whole variety of stuff that is included in Apple accessibility for vision specifically, amongst other disabilities. The other one I want to mention, because it was a very big part of my ability to be a scientist, was their screen reader that's known as VoiceOver, and a third-party app that's known as Voice Dream Reader. Because what that allowed me to do is when I was reading scientific papers, which is a big part of being a scientist, I could have my phone read them to me. And what that allowed me to do was to read papers at or faster than anyone who is fully sighted could read them. So people could actually use this as a fully sighted human being as well to read papers at a rate that far exceeds what they could just do by reading the paper itself directly. So a point I want to make here is that when we talk about Apple accessibility, it's in every Apple device that ships anywhere at any time by design. So this is inclusive design in practice here. And what that means is that while it does support me, there is stuff in here that can support everyone. No matter what state of being you are, if you go into there and explore it, I am almost certain that everyone can find something that will help them to exist in the world in a much more equitable and inclusive way. And it's a really powerful thing to see. So I want to go on from there. That's access. The other way it really has supported me is in terms of independence. So due to my vision impairment, getting around is a bit harder for me than the average human, especially during the day. I can't see so well just about anything, so I can't really make out street signs, can't make out faces, often can't really see exactly where I need to go streetwise. So what I use is something that I'm sure other people use, which is Google Maps. I'm sure people do, but I use it slightly differently because, especially during the day, I can't see my phone screen. So what I do is I use it in a fully audio way by overlapping over top of it VoiceOver. And it's allowed me to be independent and to actually get around solo without having to always have someone guiding me. And to feel that, to be able to actually just be in the world and getting around is such a powerful thing for my ability to just be me and be, present and okay with myself. And just to give you a sense of how powerful that is, in 2023, I did the CAMH Sunrise Challenge, which is a fundraiser that everybody should do. It's amazing. And basically what I thought I would do, just what the heck, is I would run the entire Young University subway line from Finch all the way to Vaughan on my own with my phone, and I did it. Other than about 2 or 3 stops where I had someone who actually I was sharing on social media, so they saw me go and they met me at one of the stops and went with me for a bit, but for most of the stops I was totally on my own, never having been to any of the stops before, and I just used Google Maps and got myself the whole way around, and it just was, to be able to achieve that was a huge thing. So, independence. Last but not least, I really wanted to talk, given the nature of this meeting, this Congress, and everything about health and wellness directly. How can this technology promote health and wellness? And there's a ton of ways it can. Here's how it has for me. So for me, one of the ways that's really helped me to promote my health and wellness is through singing. So what you see here is a picture of my choir. It's called SoundCrowd, a choir I'm a part of, I should say, not my. It's an amazing group. It's an a cappella choir. That's me. If you look at the little arrow there, that's me in the choir. And I cannot tell you how happy it makes me. When I'm singing in 9-part harmony and we're doing all this stuff, it's just the joy, other than hanging out with my daughter. That's number one. But after that, it brings me so much joy. And if it was not for technology, I wouldn't be able to do it. The reason is that a lot of the time, being a part of the choir, you have to learn from sheet music, and sheet music is completely inaccessible in its normal form. So what I would either do is load it onto my phone, use a classic invert, and be able to do it that way. But even that way wasn't fast enough, so what our leader would do is actually create sung tracks. So he'd record the parts, and I could then load it onto my phone. And this is, by the way, not just for me, this is for everybody. Again, inclusive design. She could actually load it onto your phone, and so you can learn the music wherever you are, whenever you are, whatever you're doing. And this was really the difference of being able to be a part of this choir or not. And with these sung tracks, I can learn the music and do the music faster than anyone who has full vision, because I can just do it with my hearing. And I've learned figured out a way in my head to map out the entire piece in my head, start to finish. I don't look at first repeats and second repeats and stuff. I've cast that stuff off. I just found a way to lay out the entire piece in my head, and then I just sing that way. And it's just been, groundbreaking. Last but not least, fitness and health and well-being, in terms of exercise. It's such a big part of health and well-being, and there's a number of ways technology can do this, but I wanted to talk about one that's a really powerful one I discovered just recently. It's an app that's called Second Skin Society. It's quite new. But what it is, it's created by a person named Leanne Ruber, and what she has done is created a fitness app with videos and other resources there, but also starting to create a community where the creators, the instructors, the developers, everyone are people with a variety of different body shapes and types, backgrounds, states of being, abilities. So whenever you're using the app, you see yourself represented in what is going on in the app. And there's so many situations in the fitness world where you see the super fit, amazing person doing the Ironman every second, and this kind of thing. And so how many people are actually that person? Not so many. So this lets you, and let's speak personally, let me see myself in being a part of this community. And next steps of this is really, connecting people with each other and building community. So, has Apple really advanced equity and inclusion in my experience? You better believe they have. And not only have they've created the resources and the ability for everybody to. It's not just for me, it's for everyone. And anytime when people need these supports, they're there, ready to go. So I would challenge you, if anyone has any Apple devices, check out the accessibility features. I will guarantee you'll find something you can use today for your own functionality in the world, and it'll change your life. So just want to say, acknowledge all the people who've been a part of my supports over the years, and especially, bottom right corner, that's my daughter. She's now 10, and she's the best support in my life by far. I don't know what I would do if she was not in my life, and she's my light. So thank you for your time, and it's great to be here.